For more on the latest developments on Capitol Hill, I want to welcome on Jennifer Franco, an anchor and reporter here at One America News. So Jennifer, I want to start with the issue of TikTok, actually. That's something that the president was talking about throughout the entirety of this week, and now we do see some developments on that front. But when we talked about the response on Capitol Hill, what are a lot of lawmakers saying about the prospect of banning TikTok?
So it's been an interesting response, and there's actually a lot of bipartisan support for the president's push to ban TikTok in the U.S. Republicans and Democrats alike in Congress share in the president's concerns regarding privacy and regarding the private information of millions of Americans being collected by the Chinese Communist Party, potentially through apps like TikTok. So it's something that had been up for discussion even before where we are today. I mean, even Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has expressed his concerns. He's praised the president for taking such strong action against China, but it sort of also kind of exposed some division on the subject within the Democrat Party, because then we have Congressman Jerry Nadler of New York ultimately criticizing the president for focusing on banning an app instead of what he's saying he should be focusing on the pandemic, which of course the president's been touching on all of this. So it's been a little bit of a mixed reaction, but ultimately most can agree that it would be a good thing to rein in on China and its influence.
No, and I think that's the real premise of this. In fact, when Jerry Nadler says that, I think he's missing the point that it's not just about doing away with an app. This is about national security concerns from a country that has proved to be hostile in some regard, even when it comes to the coronavirus pandemic, the beginning stages of it, their silencing of dissenting viewpoints, and it goes beyond that as well, intellectual property theft. The list goes on and on with China. So it's about more than just banning an app. And when we look at other institutions that have done it, the Biden campaign has done away with TikTok. The DNC has done away with TikTok. It's countries such as India, Japan, they've taken action as well. So it's not just the president taking this unilateral action, although that is the headline that you'll see from a lot of other media networks. But I do want to talk about the prospect of the ban as well. We know that about a week ago, President Trump said that it would take effect. Now he's moved the ball a little bit, kind of giving different options of what could happen. Does it seem likely that this ban will go into effect?
So the short answer is maybe. And the reason why, as you mentioned earlier, the president, beginning yesterday, is giving companies like Microsoft, like you mentioned, 45 days. So that puts us at the middle of September in order for an American company to step in and buy out the parent company of TikTok, that being ByteDance. So if they can get to a deal within the 45-day window, it seems like, nothing will happen. TikTok won't get pulled. But if a deal can't be reached, then, right now it's anyone's guess as to what could happen. There's plenty of loopholes. We know ByteDance is pursuing legal avenues in order to skirt around the president's threats right now. So really, that's all it is right now at this point. It's an official threat on paper to take action. If they can figure something out within the next 45 days, then TikTok might be saved. So we'll just have to wait and see.
And there is an interesting conversation to be had, too, about what this does for the negotiations between someone such as Microsoft and TikTok. For example, if the alternative is being banned altogether, that might drive down the buying price of something such as this app when Microsoft is doing these negotiations. I'm not sure exactly how that would work, but we did hear that President Trump say that he would like perhaps some of the proceeds or the revenue from that type of sale to go to the Treasury Department because of that very reality, that the alternative is an outright ban. So that is something that I think is a little bit of ambiguity right now that people don't know, but something to keep an eye on as well for a lot of our viewers. But Jennifer, before I let you go too, I just want to take a step back and talk about the social media versus cable news divide, because of course we're in the both realms of this. We're a cable news channel, but at the same time we're very active on social media and the effort of furthering information out to different audiences. Is social media starting to almost one-up cable news as far as its effectiveness?
It's interesting because in the past few years, there's been more and more focus and more data to sort of look into that question. And the short answer is yes. Pew Research actually did an analysis that they published recently. They published it, I believe, a month or two ago. Still relevant, though. They're still collecting information. And basically what they did is they went back and they looked at several surveys to look at where Americans are getting their news from. And it started looking at surveys from last October all the way through this summer. And they actually found some interesting parallels and some shifting numbers. So right now, from the Americans surveyed, 25% are getting their news from news apps and news websites. 18% are getting their news from social media, and then 16% are getting their news from cable and local news channels. So when you look at these numbers, it looks like an increasing number of Americans, mostly younger Americans, but again, that age bracket is sort of shifting as time goes on, and older people become more tech savvy and starting to jump on things like Twitter, things like that. So it is interesting that, social media is definitely having an impact as to how Americans are fed their news. But one interesting aspect from the study that stuck out to me, at least, was that it found that a lot of people that do get their news from social media don't necessarily follow stories, and they don't necessarily retain all the facts correctly. So there is something to be said about watching cable news programs.
No, I think you're exactly right. And it kind of goes along with that shortened attention span that comes with social media as well. But I think it's interesting, too, that, for example, when you talk about cable news ratings, they always look at that younger demographic. That's the one that they really want to get. I mean, it could go from anywhere from 18 to 49, but they really look at that 18 to about 30 range as well. And that's really the demographic that is existing on social media. So you do see a lot of cable news networks reaching out on social media to try to reach that younger demographic. And I think at some point we are going to see a little bit of a cohesion between the two. But I think you're exactly right, and that study is very interesting.
Yeah.
Jennifer, Franco, I appreciate you coming on tonight and breaking down this issue. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you.